All right, we are live officially. Officially,
Nice.
little bit ahead of time, but it's all good. Uh, Let me just make sure all is checked out. All right, yeah, we're good. We're good, man. Good. We're looking good. All right. So, hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. I'm excited about today's broadcast. This is the fourth installment of the Ashes of the Phoenix series. This is a series all about just teaching people how to rise from the ashes, no matter what they're dealing with. We talk about everything from spirituality to self development, lifestyle, generational wealth, health and wellness, etc. And we've had some really, really, really good programs thus far. But I'm really excited about today because this is my brother from another mother.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
this is Vernon Jones. He is a real estate investor. And I coined this phrase for you. I didn't even ask if you were comfortable with this, but I called you a generational wealth expert.
That's Thank you. I
That's
love
that
it. I love it.
because
I
you've
love
been
it.
I've known you for probably about 10 years and you've been promoting generational wealth in the community forever when you used to live in Brooklyn. But this is perfect because today's topic is about spirituality and generational wealth and the intersectionality between the two. I think that there's this, and I wanted to have this conversation because I think there's this stigma with being spiritual and then having a conversation about money, right?
Right.
And today we're going to make clarify that when we talk about generational wealth, it's not just about money.
Right.
Okay. So, but before we do that, I have to allow you to introduce yourself. My boy, straight out of
My
Brooklyn. Yeah. Hold up before you do
name.
that. So, I want you to introduce yourself to the people, man, and just tell them a little bit about your background.
Well, like you said, Mike. You know, I'm a real estate investor. I feel like I embody the lifestyle of generational wealth. Um, I am all about equality and equality in all forms, not just in singularity terms. I've been in real estate since I was 18, and I'm 33 now, so 15 years. I've been investing since 2010. I own a building in Brooklyn, and I'm currently in contract for another building in Brooklyn. Um, and you know, man, I think about what generational wealth and spirituality means, and there's such a great connection. And like you said, we've been taught by society to kind of separate the two and think of money as evil, as a way of portraying the devil, right? But in actuality, money is a tool. Money is a tool that can be used for good or evil, and it's something that can be passed on. It's something that can create a level of comfortability in your life and be able to pass that on to the next generation. So I know we're gonna dive real deep into it, but
Yeah.
I wanted to tee you up. I wanted to tee you up.
Yeah. No. One of the things we first, how did you, I mean, because you grew up as you grew up a Jehovah's Witness,
Right,
which is
right.
probably one of the strictest forms of religions out there, modern day religions out there, sects of religions. So, how was it growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, and what were some of the, I guess, this whole concept of good or bad, but what are some of the good things that you learned from being a Jehovah's Witness and growing up in a very strict religion, and what are some of the things that kind of you had to transmute and change around?
Look, man, that was the foundation of my life. Everybody in my family, even to this day, they are Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm not
Okay.
currently anymore, but what it did for me was it created my individuality, and it made me become okay with my individuality. And what I mean is, when I was going in elementary school, imagine first grade throughout high school, you're not going to birthday parties. You're not going to the Christmas parties.
Mhm.
You're not doing the Pledge of Allegiance. So
Mhm.
you kind of an outcast from the beginning, right? From early in my life. So what that did was it kind of gave me the armor that I needed to become an individual. Because today, even today, you know, a lot of things, a lot of ways that I live my life are unconventional, and it makes me become okay with that. And I think that, and I look at other people who are around my circle. I know a guy, you know, my friend Anthony Lally, you know, he grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, and I see, you know, he's always doing crazy things. And and other people that I see, you know, I notice when they grow up, they've got this sense of individuality. So it was one of those things that really stuck with me. Even though I don't practice today, there's still things that have really honed in on that foundation of myself and being the full me, you know?
Nice. Yeah, I mean, you know, in order to, you know, make concrete decisions in life and stay rooted, you need to be an individual, right?
Yeah.
Especially if, you know, you want to talk about investing and looking for opportunities. So as far as, you know, your belief system, what is your personal belief system when it comes to building generational wealth? And
Well,
I want to back up. Let me back up because I jumped a little. First, define generational wealth, and then
okay.
the question.
So generational wealth to me is it's a complete lifestyle. It's how you eat. It's what you eat. It's how you speak to your spouse. It's how you treat your spouse, how you treat your family, how you treat your mother, how you treat your parents. It's um, it's a set of guidelines, a set of rules that you live by, that you want to, and you're infectious, and you want to infect everybody you speak to, you encounter, with this sort of lifestyle. But not only that, you take it to a next level when you have kids. And I, you know, for me, I think about my great grandfather, right? My great grandfather came to New York from down south, where it was, you know, highly segregated. He didn't have any opportunities, and he created a life for himself in Brooklyn by purchasing property, by, you know, building a business. And it was through those things, it was through those sequence of events and those struggles that have brought me where I am today. So whenever I'm feeling low or I'm feeling down and out, I look to my ancestors, who are the ones who created, who gave their everything, their, you know, worked their asses to the bone to bring me to where I am. So when I think about generational wealth, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about, okay, they busted their tail to get me here. So it is my job, it is my duty to go even harder for the next generation. Because again, man, my dad, I'll give you an example. My dad grew up in one of the toughest Brownsville projects in Brooklyn, the toughest projects. And he had 9 brothers and sisters, right? And I looked at a video just last week where my nephew, my brother's son, is in the backyard of my dad's townhouse in Clinton Hill, Brooklyn, right? Living the best life possible. And it's like blowing me away. I'm like, this is generational wealth in action. How do you go? You go from living in the projects, you know, having a great life. Don't get me wrong. You know, he had a lot of love, but it was a dangerous place to be around. It's a dangerous environment.
Family.
Yeah. So to me, yeah.
I feel like you answered both of my questions, so I don't even need to ask you the question I asked you before. And, you know, the thing that I love what you said is, you know, the story about your brother, because, you know, we talk about generational wealth. We also talk about safety and security, right? But this is your abundance by birthright. It's your abundance is your birthright. So we talked about your grandfather as well, and your grandfather busting his hump, you know, buying real estate in Brooklyn. It's almost if it's a disrespect to our ancestors for us to be lazy, not believe in ourselves, and don't go for, you know, a higher level of lifestyle living and abundance in our lives. So it does feel like to me, it feels like we're disrespecting our ancestors when we don't, you know, gravitate towards a generational wealth mindset. Because I definitely think there's so much more confusion these days. There's so much more distractions these days. And a lot of people aren't focused on on generational wealth. They're more so focused on what they can do now to soothe themselves and escape, right? So instead of going to the bar every weekend and spending $200, $300, you could be stacking those chips together with your family members, right? And investing that money into something. So I think that, it's also cultural. I don't know if you would agree with it. Is it cultural as well?
I definitely think it's cultural, and I'm about to drop a gem right now. So generational wealth is the new underground railroad. And and the reason why I say that is because back in the day, let's talk about Harriet Tubman, right? When she tried to get people out of bondage, right? But you had a lot of people, a lot of slaves who did not want to get out of bondage. You had them; they did not want to get out because they were comfortable, right? They had their clothes, they had their food. So for them to think about being free, it actually was very scary, right? It's a scary thing, and that translates into today, because there's a corporate plantation out there. There's corporate plantations where we can get comfortable, and we see other people who might be struggling, but they have freedom. They have freedom to be able to go to their kids' little league games. They have freedom to be able to be there for their children. Whereas if you're on that corporate plantation, you might not have that freedom, and it's a tough thing. It's a tough thing to figure out and to take that leap. But I think with the generational mindset, you understand that, look, at the end of the day, I need freedom, because freedom is something that you pass down. And even back in the day, in slavery times, if you were a slave, you pass down that slavery to your kids, right? But if you fight and you fight for your freedom, you try to run the hell away, and you gain that freedom. Now, what are you giving to your kids? You're giving to your kids freedom, right? So there's a lot of parallels, and it's so interesting to really think about.
But you also have to be responsible with freedom, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
When I became an entrepreneur umpteen years ago, I'm not going to blow myself up. When I became an entrepreneur umpteen years ago, and I walked away from my day job that I had of 8 years, I found myself with all of this freedom. But it actually took me 3 years to reprogram my mind, because I always felt like I needed to be at a job. So psychologically, this was the craziness. Psychologically, I would feel this guilt while everybody was at work. Even though I was working on my own projects, I would feel this psychological guilt of feeling like I needed to be on that corporate plantation or that job plantation, right? And that's not saying that having a job is bad, but
not at all.
It's more difficult to build generational wealth when you have to go a place every day for 8 hours, right? So if you are not setting aside time to say, how can I, immerse myself into real estate, the stock market, or some of these other financial opportunities that are out there, or educating myself, then you're always going to sort of be a slave to somebody else's ideas and making somebody else wealthy. So I want to talk about the importance of time, because somebody said this to me. They said the way to get wealthy is to understand time and information and resources. That's all you need. That's what a very wealthy man said to me. And I didn't understand that till a lot later. So how do you use your time to build generational wealth?
And Mike, you hit on a nail right now, because even taking it back to what I was talking about, being able to have freedom, even if you have a 9-to-5, you should have a plan to gain your freedom. And what does that mean? I've been in jobs before, and I've seen people in like people who work with you. They're joking around, they're playing games, they're gossiping, and that's how they use their time. Right. So if you're very serious about what you've got going on, you're very serious about creating generational wealth for yourself and for your family, you don't have time for that. You don't have time for the game. So all those little minutes and hours that normal, I think, workers use to just pass the time is what can be going towards building your passion, which eventually translates into the generational wealth.
Right. Yeah, one thing that I applaud you, I'll follow you on Instagram, and I always see you strategizing, right? So I wanted to hop into that next. Okay, so let me paint a scenario for you. Let me pose a scenario for you. I don't have any, I don't come from a family that has money. They're sort of like financially illiterate. I don't have any, property that's being handed to me or anything of value. I'm starting from zero. I'm trying to break the generational mindset of poverty. Where do I start with building generational wealth? I don't have anything right now, tangible.
Well,
if I'm that individual, what would you say?
I would say it starts with your passion. It starts with your purpose. What do you love to do? Like, what is your absolute, if you could do anything that you didn't have to exchange your time for, for money, what would it be that you could do all day? And whatever that is what people are gonna be willing to give their money to pay for. And back in the day, man, in centuries ago, there was no concept of money. Money didn't exist. It was all bartering. It was all, I have bread, you give me yeast. I have, I have corn, you give me whatever, carrots. And it was that kind of exchange. And somehow it got converted to the landlord system, and then it got converted to the industrial system, and then today we've got the financial system. So how you're able to get what you need and build generational wealth is through your passion. I give you an example. If you're an artist, right? If you're an artist and you love your art, if you devote enough time and enough energy into that, one thing, people are going to start to gravitate towards you. It's just a universal, way things work. They're going to gravitate towards you, and they're going to want to exchange value for your art. And what I tell people is that I don't care if you're an artist. I don't care if you are a motivational speaker. I don't care if you're a scientist. Whatever you are, you should always invest in real estate. And this kind of goes into real estate. Yeah, we'll get into that. But the point is that no matter what it is that you do, gaining incremental wealth through real estate is a way to give your kids the ability to do what they love to do in life.
Wow. I mean, we have this mindset, man, where this is the mindset I have of a few family members, which is like, don't spoil your children. They got to work hard, right?
Right.
And they don't really believe in passing anything down or giving a hand up. Meanwhile, you have the wealthy 1%. Their children are already set up. Their children are already lined up to get funds, trust funds. They're already lined up to inherit real estate. They're already lined up to go to colleges and universities that are top tier. So everything is lined up to make it easier in every generation that is to come. And I think that we can still adopt that mindset. I think that there's a falsehood that says that you have to have a trust fund or you have to have all this real estate. And it's as simple as when a child is born, buying bonds or doing something that can accrue value over a course of time. So when it's time for the child to go to school, it's like, all right, well, college is already paid for. So just that really thinking in advance, and that's a mindset shift. But I do want to talk about that, having that belief along with the passion, right? So this is when the spirituality comes in for me, right? What you said about, and I think somebody said passion, they wrote it there, passion and purpose, right? And that creates enthusiasm. Thank you, Jamie. She's on YouTube, actually. I have disconnected
Jamie.
To my Facebook, Jamie Alexander. She's amazing. Check out her program, King Speak. She's out there in LA with you. And when we talk about spirituality, like I have my beliefs that are so a part of me that nobody can tell me about myself, right? You can't tell me who I am. And for me, spirituality is believing in something greater than yourself, right? So I'm connected to source. I'm connected, whatever you want to call God, the universe. And knowing that I am connected to a power that great and that I walk in the image of that, there is nothing that I can't do. So along with having that passion and that purpose, you have to connect. You have to connect that. You have to connect that belief that you can do anything. Because the devil, and I'll tell you who the devil is that poverty mindset. That poverty mindset. And that poverty mindset makes you believe that this is not for you, or you can't do this. I met a gentleman on a job I used to work on. He worked in the elevator. He was an elevator operator. He was illiterate, slightly illiterate. He came from Poland, and he saved all his money. He worked really hard, but he bought real estate. And everybody, he wore the same damn thing every day. But when he retired, they told me he retired with $3.5 million. Because he made all the smart moves. He wasn't flashy, blew his money. And he said, I am only focused, and I used to speak to him, I am only focused in making sure that my grandkids are set up. My grandkids are set up. And that's how he broke that generational curse in his family. He said, I'm really the only person to ever have money. So that passion, that purpose, aligned with your core belief system, your spirituality, your spiritual faculties, makes you unstoppable.
Yes.
It makes you unstoppable. And I have watched you. I've watched you, right? I remember, and I want to talk about this feeling that you had. Let's talk about, because I have the picture, the photo. When you got your first property, let's talk about it.
Oh, man. Listen, I broke down. I broke down heavy. I broke down heavy because, it felt very spiritual to me. It felt spiritual because in my mind's eye, I saw my grandchild being able to open their first store in my property.
Yeah.
Right. I saw that this was so much bigger than myself and so much bigger than even my family. It's very rare. First of all, it's very rare that a 30-year-old owns, a large building in Brooklyn or anywhere for that matter, especially if he's Black, right? And I don't want that to be a thing of, a surprise. That should be normal. Right? Like my Jewish brothers and sisters, right? My Jewish brothers and sisters, it's a part of life to own property or to own multifamily property. It's a way of life, right? And it's not surprising if somebody who is 30 owns it. And that's my goal, is to be able to make it so that's a place of normalcy for people to be owning large buildings throughout the country and throughout the world, for that matter. Man, I grew up. I grew up in my grandparents' home, and then my mom grew up there, and then my nephew now is growing up there, and that cycle of being able to provide an environment of nourishment, is something that's highly spiritual to me.
There's an ancestral tie there. There's an ancestral energy within that home, and it's producing winners. It's producing the mindset of, don't sell mama house. All right, like that's we're going to talk about that. How a lot of people of color specifically, when our parents pass away, our grandparents pass away, we're so quick to sell that house.
Yep.
We're so quick to get rid of that whole house. Oh, I gotta get this money. But if you look at it from an investment standpoint, especially if it has multi-units in it, you can actually, don't sell grandma's house. Yeah, sorry about that. Don't sell grandma's house, not mama's house. You can
mama, grandma, it's
whatever,
all the same,
right?
Man. Yeah.
You can actually create a wealth generating property that can stay in the family forever if you do it right. But I think what has to happen, because this happens a lot in families, not just Black families, not just white families, but the lack of emotional intelligence and lack of communication between family members, right? It needs to be treated like a business meeting. Somebody
Yes.
needs to come to the table, right, and say, hey guys, here's the plan. And we're all going to be able to eat. We're going to put the money in one big pot. Maybe there's a distribution every quarter, something like that. But it takes a level of emotional intelligence and spiritual faculties, right? To remind them we're all connected. This is lineage. To put people in that mindset, and that's what I think. Because when my grandfather passed away, I have my grandparents' houses just sitting there in Queens, and I'm stepping up to figure out how we can turn that property into a house that we can actually rent out, clean it up, probably get a construction loan. But there's so many resources out there now too that'll help you build up your real estate projects. It just takes patience, with your family members. Patience.
And it's that patience, man. And generational wealth is a slow growth. It's the slow grind. You're not going to get a boom $1 million. That's not how this works. It's a daily grind, and that's why it is a mentality. It's a mentality shift, because when especially in the social media world, man, we're all about that instant gratification, and we want to make $1 million tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's not how it works. So usually, like today, if unfortunately, if somebody's grandmother passes away, then the family is thinking, oh, this is a payday, right? This is my time to get a payday. But
Right.
they're not thinking that, look, this is a slow. Okay, let's take a step back and let's figure out how we can work together. And another thing you hit on, Mike, is you hit on the fact that in our communities and communities of color, it's a saying that people say, oh, you can't work with family. Oh, family, you that's never gonna work. You can't work with family.
Yeah.
But in other communities, family is the only people you work with. Right? And it is tough, man. I've worked with my dad, and it is hard, bro. It is hard, but it is
Yeah.
worth every obstacle, because like just going back to our spirituality, it's a spiritual thing when you're working with your family in order to create value, right? It's so spiritual, but it's that generational mindset that we have to adopt in order to be able to even get over that hump of being able to work with family members. So I see exactly what you're talking about, man.
So, we're talking a lot about real estate, but what are some other ways of building wealth and generating wealth, and just sort of like grinding that from the bottom, and trying to build up wealth, in your opinion?
In my opinion, it's all about compounding interest, right? And that could be several different ways. You can compound your wealth through real estate. You can compound your wealth through, stocks, bonds, investing in precious metals. But it's all about timing, like we talked about before, and being able to have that patience, timing and patience. Because, for example, in 2008, let's just say for example, I wish I was in the same frame of mind as I am now back in 2008 when, for example, Citibank was at about $1 per share, and when everything went down. And I think about that now, it's like, wow, as if I had the mentality of, okay, things are going awry right now, but it's not a time to panic. It's a time to think about the future. Think about the next 10 years, the next 20 years. How is that going to look? And wealth is just a product of taking your time, investing for future value. And I mean, you've got health as a wealth. What you eat today and this week and this month and this year is going to affect how you feel in 10 years. And how you invest your money today is going to dictate how much liquid capital you have, how much, residual income you're getting. So it's a factor of time and patience.
I always talk about this, that energy is a source of your own personal energy. Energy is a source of wealth. So
Yeah.
we talk about eating healthy. Woke up this morning, 6 o'clock. Me and my cousin hit the gym, and we were laying. She wouldn't get up. I was like, "Yo," she was spread out on the couch. She said, "Yo," we were supposed to get up at 5. I said, "Yo, get up." And she was like, I said, "Our mothers still don't have that house that we want to buy them. Get up."
Mm.
She popped up like this. She was like, and my cousin is like brilliant. She's an actress. She just did an Absolute Vodka campaign. Like, she's brilliant. So we're both creatives. And she popped up and like, yo, we hit that gym so hard. And by the time the sun was still down, by the time we were coming out the gym, the sun was high in the sky. And she said something to me. She said, because we also were in errands. She said, we've done more by 8 o'clock than most people are going to do all day. So where you put your energy, that's where money flows.
Yep.
And it's really about getting rid of this belief system that you always have tomorrow, like you always have the next day to do something. So this is where intention comes in. And intention to me is very spiritual, very spiritual. So you have to be intentional about your day and the things you do. And this is a great time for me to plug something right now. I definitely want you to be a part of this. So we at the Rebel Camp just designed a 8-week program called the Inner Warriorship Program, and we teach how to live a more intentional lifestyle. So we go through, mental transmutation, how to turn negative vibrations into higher vibrations. We talk about how to create personal boundaries. So it's a really phenomenal program. And if you go to therebelcamp.com, you can join. It's up right now on the website, and it's $100 off early bird special. But I would definitely love to have you talk in our private community. So the Rebel Camp has its own private community, and when you sign up for that program, you're automatically entered into our private community for life. And I'm going to have you on to talk about this again. And I obviously want to be a part of your community, which is
The Gen Wealth Network. Yeah, the Gen Wealth Network. And it's a private community. We are there to build each other up and create generational wealth within our group, but also within our prospective families and communities. And before we jump into, I want to hop on to what you just said, which kind of coincides with one of the most important principles of generational wealth that I believe, which is living as a minimalist, but investing as a maximalist. And in our lives, we tend to create clutter, either whether it's in our spaces or whether it's in our minds. And a part of creating generational wealth is being able to get rid of anything that's not of necessity, right? So, for example, like for me, it's all about being the lightest you can be. And what I love to invest, I hate Prada, Gucci, all these names. I feel like those are the enemies of generational wealth, because it makes you live in excess, right? And it's like, what do you really care about? Think about what you really care about and focus on those things. So, I when you're talking about generational wealth, you want to focus on your environment. Are you investing in your environment? Are you investing in your body? Are you investing in your kids' educations? And I think if we focus on that principle, it's a way for us to get more spiritually aligned, and then more generational wealth in our families.
so when you talk about
So
principles, right? It's very, very important. And principles are your personal truths,
yes,
right? So you cannot go against your personal truths. So if you have the principle to wake up early every day and be as productive as possible, whether that's meditating, feeding your body, ingesting high vibrational foods, which is once again tied to your spiritual faculties, then those are your principles. You know, if you say your affirmations in the mirror every morning, you know, these are things that help you build wealth within first. So I wanted
Yes.
to make sure that we preface that because wealth starts within first, and you cannot accrue well. You can get rich, but you can't get wealthy. You
No.
know, there's a lot of people who don't eat right and don't take care of themselves, and just nasty people that get rich, but they always lose that money. It's just like the lottery winners, right? They'll win the lottery, and most lottery winners go broke after 2, 3 years because they weren't spiritually wealthy before. And I think that that's the phase I'm in right now is becoming spiritually wealthy,
Mm.
spiritually wealthy, and making sure that I honor myself, I honor my body, I honor my mind. And though I don't feel like you don't have to torture yourself, you can have some fun. You can buy a Prada shirt if you want, right? But when your entire value is based on labels, your
Right.
entire value is based on keeping up with the Joneses, you are not rooted and grounded, right? You're not grounded. And what I feel like your Jehovah's Witness upbringing gave you was that groundedness.
I think so.
Because you weren't looking to spend $1,500 on Christmas gifts, And
Right.
I don't demonize religion at all. I don't demonize religion, though I refer to myself as a spiritual being, I have a spiritual experience. I'm not tied to any religion, but I do think religion is good for people who need structure. So, with that said, what are some of the no-nos, to building generational wealth outside of excess spending? What are some more enemies of generational wealth that you see every day?
Man, like we kind of spoke a lot about it, but I'll kind of recap. It's using your time wisely. Stop joking. Like, we joke around. Life
I'm
is
playing around.
fun. Life is fun. But this, you know, yo, we are at war right now, man. We have to be serious about what we're doing and how we do it, and be very purposeful with our timing, with our time. I think that's one thing. Another thing is being able to um, man, I gotta go back to spending your money, because that's such a big part of it, man. How we spend our money is a reflection of how we're gonna be in the next 10 years. And man, I'm trying to
I'll
think about what else. Yeah.
I'll definitely add on is negative self-talk.
Mm,
Negative self-talk, and this is because the frequencies that we experience every day are designed to keep us in a a lower vibration. So the music we listen to, right? I'm very
yeah.
conscious these days of the music I listen to. A lot of that is set at a frequency that jumps into your mind, your subconscious mind, and lowers your ability to think on a higher vibration. I also think your language, right? So in our workshop that we have, we help people fix their language because you talk yourself out of things. Your word is your wand. You talk yourself out of things. So if you're like, man, I can't win, the universe is like, yeah, we
Well,
can't win.
right.
You're going to get what you want because, as my homegirl Bless says, the universe only knows how to say yes. So I think it's really
Right.
being aware of your language and the things that you say to yourself and the things that you say to other people. I would recommend an audio book for people called "The Game Is Life" by Florence Scovel Shinn. It's called "The Game Is Life." It's by Florence Scovel Shinn. She's a metaphysician who talks a lot about being more intentional with your time and being conscious of your words and your thoughts. And because to me, like I said, wealth starts with your mind. And it took me 42 years to realize that I can do anything. So, even with you getting your first building, which I remember you talking about it. I like how does one, I mean, as far as resource wise, right? There's a lot of resources online that you can go into that will teach you about real estate.
Oh, for sure.
So,
For sure.
that's something that, like, where do you start learning about real estate? I mean, what?
I mean, so I went to prep school in Massachusetts. I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship. It cost $40,000 a year, and I got a scholarship. Thank goodness my parents had the foresight to enroll me, in this scholarship program. But the parents of these kids are the creme de la creme of America, right? They are, the senators, they're international princes. They're, these are the kids I went to high school with. And the thing is, I started to ask, the kids, so what do your parents do? Like, what do they do? Like, and most of the time I was hearing real estate, right? So from when I was like 14, 15, I started to understand that, look, okay, most of the wealth in America is generated through real estate. And the more I learned, the more I knew that, look, by the time I'm 18, I wanna start learning about this thing. No matter what I end up doing, I want to get into real estate because I know that that's my path to wealth. So it was really, it started there. And then, once I got into it, I learned that, look, you can be your own boss. There's different aspects to it that just creates a beautiful freedom that most people don't have. So I think that's how I got into it.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, you've definitely been passionate about it. Now, I want to talk about managing personal, like love relationships, right? Like, how do you balance the grind and your love life, your love interests?
Man, look, it's very, very important that you connect with somebody, or you link up with somebody who understands, your passions and understands your ambitions. Because if not, there's going to be a disconnect, and they won't understand why you're staying up at 2 a.m. Working on something, because they want to watch this TV show on Netflix, right? So you've gotta connect with the right people, because you guys are going to be on the same vibration, same wavelengths. If not, you're going to be going over and under, and it'll never really truly connect on that same wavelength. So that's really important. That's so important, man.
When we talk about spirituality, guys, I always come back to the frequency, man. The vibration is adjusting your frequency so you can have a harmonious vibration. And what it builds with that person is a deeper appreciation for generational wealth. Because now it's like, hey, we built this together, right?
Yep.
Because he or she is going to have to sacrifice their time sometimes, right? I remember, past relationships I was in, which, sometimes I had to sacrifice my own time so this person could do X, Y, Z. And that's just a respect for what we were working towards. And then sometimes it was my turn, right? So, but there's a respect for that. There's no argument about it. There's just a let's work together. Because when you start fighting each other over time and who's going to do what, and you're not in sync, then that frequency is going to start jamming, and there's no vibration whatsoever, and then the romance is going to go away. Then that person is going to be looking for a next person that understands them and understands their passion and purpose. Because you cannot be in a healthy relationship with somebody if you are not a part of their passion and purpose, if you are not supporting it, if you are not motivating them, if you're not trying to listen to them and understand them, because it's such a thing that's a part of them. So I would give that advice as well. And you I do want to talk about this, brother. This was a spiritual experience for you, because I know you pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
You were living in New York.
Yo, man.
You were living in New York. Let's talk about this experience. You were living in New York, and New York can be taxing. Trust me, I know. The winters are hard as hell. The summers are short. It's a big city, but it's a small city. There's not a lot of opportunities to just like go to the beach and just get your mind right, or go into nature, or go hiking. It's pretty brick and mortar. So what made you want to relocate from Brooklyn to LA where you are now, Los Angeles where you are now?
Look, it
And what
was
was
a
that moment
phrase. It was a phrase that that one of my friends told me, and
Uh-oh, I think we lost him. There you go. You there?
yeah,
Oh,
sorry.
I can hear you now.
So
All right.
so she said live in New York, but leave before it makes you too hard. But then live in California, but leave before it makes you too soft. And after I heard that, I was like, whoa, it kind of threw me back. And I was like, you know what? It might be my time because I felt like I was getting too hard. It was
Mm,
like I was becoming stoic. I was becoming so rigid and like yes and no and just not feeling myself, not feeling very human. It kind of took out the humanity in me. But New York is my heart, man. New York is like my soul, and it has taught me how to be, you know, such a go-getter, such a hungry person, and such hunger for my passion, and that's one thing that New York will give you, hands down. And if anybody's thinking about going to New York and hasn't been there or hasn't lived there, I would encourage you to go and live there because it's going to sharpen your teeth, you
woo,
know. And then
welcome to the jungle.
it being, I'm telling you, man, what the what what made me leave, the official moment that I made my decision to leave was when I went to Home Depot to get like some stuff for the property, and I came into the driveway, and there was an old woman, right? She had to be in her 70s, and she was driving pretty slow, and there was another guy who was coming towards her, and the guy couldn't go around because she was kind of blocking the way. And when he got a little bit of space, he he went by her and spit in her window. And that, like, seeing that moment just told me, yo, I gotta get the hell out of here, because this is becoming a hindrance to my peace. And I mean, now I'm out in Cali. You see, this is the rooftop. This is, you know, my lifestyle has completely changed, man. It's done a complete 180.
Yeah.
I've been able to structure my life in a way where I can focus on my woman, focus on my passions, focus on my family. And you know, on Sundays we go hiking, we go to the beach. It's like a ritual, and we started to create these nature walks, and being able to become centered
Yes.
with
Yes.
nature. And
Yeah.
bro, it's been a crazy journey, but I love New York to death, man. New York's my spirit animal.
Oh, I know you're a beast out here. So the thing that you just said was a spiritual component to it because we talked about the importance of time and owning time. To me, that's like one of the most valuable things you can own is time, right? You hear me? You there? Hold on. Putting in the AirPods. All right, give him a minute. Give him a minute.
Shoot, man.
On the rooftop, chilling. I love it. Um, all right. Gotta put the old school joints on real quick. All right. So anyway, I was just gonna talk about what he just said about time because I know this man for so long and I've never really known him to be out in nature and doing all these things. So it's really beautiful to see somebody that we came up in New York with that grinds hard as hell. And Vernon is like a guy who used to work 20 hours a day, and now he's talking about nature walks. You know, I love it. So you still there? I got you back.
Damn.
All right. So try to see if you can put it on speaker. Having a little bit of tough technical difficulties, but I did want to keep going until he gets back to talk about time and the importance of time. And guys, you know, I think it really speaks volumes to have somebody on that I couldn't get this guy to stop working. You know, Vernon was just that type of guy. I couldn't get this guy to stop working. And it was just very hard to have any kind of casual moment with him because he was all about his passion, as he should be. But that lifestyle change in that moment, I remember being in a car with him in LA last year, and he said, I started getting emotional. He said, me and my lady started crying. And, he just didn't feel free. So it's so good to see him with this balance. All right. You hear me?
I hear you, man.
Great. I was just holding space until you were back. But what you said, that last part that you said, when you said, we go for nature walks. We go to the beach, we do all these things now. And I said, Vernon, I never knew you to do any of those things when you were in New York. You were grinding, 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 grinding. And you even look better, dog. Like you have your glow. And it doesn't make sense to be making all this money and doing all this stuff if your health is deteriorating, your
100.
mental, physical, spiritual health. So I'm the importance of honoring our time with pouring into our cup, right? Pouring into our cup, which is going into nature and resetting, going to the beach and doing all these things. Have you found yourself since you moved to LA and created that time and space for yourself, working smarter and having more time?
100%. I think being out here has allowed me to be able to set boundaries when it comes to work-life balance, and that's one thing that I've noticed. That's a huge difference
Right.
between New York and California is the work-life balance. In New York, it's go 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 go. There's no stopping. You don't stop for nothing. You don't even look back, right? But over here, it's it's a way of life, um, and man, it is night and day, man. I mean, every day I'm juicing. I'm able to wake up really early, write articles.
Mhm.
Uh, it's man.
Thus, you make more. So, that's the thing. When you are mentally available, spiritually available, you can actually gain more. And I realize that because we get stuck in these patterns. Yeah, somebody just said team no sleep. We get stuck in these patterns where we're like, oh, I got to stay up for 18, 16 hours. I was in this studio working on the warriorship program one time from 8 a.m. until 10 a.m. the next day. I slept here. Nobody knew where I was. And I was like, did I work smart? I worked really hard, but did I work smart? So I have to look at that again. And am I being purposeful? Am I being
Mm,
purposeful? So you always have to make sure that whatever you're doing, if it's your passion, that you're being purposeful with your passion, and not just wearing your passion like a necklace or a chain or a shiny thing. Because I think a lot of people like to hear themselves talk about their passion, but are they really, really lining and setting themselves up in the proper way? Are you aligned, mind, body, that holy trinity, mind, body, and soul? Is the mind, body, and soul aligned? And if the mind, body, and soul are aligned, you can't truly activate your passion.
right, right.
So
And
you're
one thing we have to realize, Mike, is that New York, for example, specifically, New York was built from the very beginning. It was built as a money making machine. That's
right.
it. It was built for that. That is the at the core of the New York lifestyle. And it's not until you get out of that until you can look and you see, oh wow, there's more to it. And
Hmm.
I'll leave you with this, man. There's a statistic where after you make $65,000, $65,000 is kind of the uh, the threshold for happiness. So there've been so many studies that have been done where after you make $65,000 to like $250,000, that's when your life can get worse. Your happiness can become worse than if you're making that 65,000. So in that New York mentality is like, we've got to make as much as we can. We've got to make 500,000. We've got to make 1 million this year. We've got to make as much. And listen, your happiness is what all that matters at the end of the day. That's really all that matters. So I think being here, it allowed me to kind of slow down and say, eh, I'm gonna make a good amount of money this year, yes, but I'm gonna keep my lifestyle low. I'm gonna spend most of my money on organic fruit and vegetables, right? Not I wear Under Armour all day. That's all. That's all.
Yo, my
You
man
know,
used to wear suits every day. Used to wear suits every day.
every day, bro. And it's so crazy. It's so wild, Mike, because I was wearing $1,000 suits, brokering $4,000 apartments, but I'm in California wearing $10 Under Armour shirts, brokering $20 million deals. Right. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're wearing. It doesn't matter. Any of that doesn't matter. It matters about your peace and your inner peace and how you're able to project your purpose into this
Right.
universe.
Right. And we talked about, making sure that you're honoring your time. We talked about making sure that you're being purposeful with your passion. We talked about the importance of working together with your family to build generational wealth if you have the opportunity. We talked about educating yourself, on specific things like stock market. I just started to invest in the stock market very, very small because I'm teaching myself. We talked about really working smarter, not harder. This
Yep.
New York to LA life taught you that. We talked about living minimalistic but investing on a max level. Um, and I think what we need to dive into as our last piece, because it's about 7:56 now, is fair.
Mm,
Let's talk about fair.
that's a
Um,
big one.
woo, I saved the best for last. Fear is I think at some point everyone's enemy. When you don't know what the hell it is, when you feel that like, oh my gosh, fear is definitely a spiritual attack. It can be a spiritual attack, so it is tied to that. How do you? Because you just said that you're brokering 15, $20 million deals. How the hell do you navigate fear? When you're operating on that level.
Well, look, man, the people closest to me, when I told them I wanted to start doing large deals, I wanted to do $10 million deals, the people closest to me thought I was nuts and thought that this was a dream. It's like, how are you going to do that? It's going to take you years to get to that level. Who are you? Who do you think you are? Right? And and that's something that I'm realizing is very normal. If you're trying to do something that's out of the scope of maybe your immediate circle, it's you're gonna get discouraged by
Mhm.
people who are fearful for you because they genuinely they want the best for you. So they're thinking to themselves, well, let me say this to him so that I can lower his expectations so that he's not gonna get let down so hard when his dream does not come true. So in their mind, they're trying to help you out, but in reality, they're instilling fear in your heart, and that fear is paralyzing you. It's like I can't do anything because I'm so scared, right? And it's not until you let go of that fear that you actually are able to fly. Oh man, I wouldn't have been able to move out to LA. I wouldn't have been able to do $30 million in deals in 6 months. I wouldn't have been able to be in contract for the largest property that I'm gonna own. Um, you know, these are things that I had to consciously let go of fear in order to get to that level. And it's not something that happens by accident. It's very purposeful.
Did you feel what was that process though? Because fear it can become a belief system for many,
Mm,
and it's one of the hardest things I had to fight because I come from a family really that never really addressed it, right? They never really addressed it, so I figured it out, and it's been a great journey because it's been fun. It's been fun to solve my own problems. And now that, even with the rebel camp, people, you want to talk about crazy. You want to talk, people thought I lost my mind. They were like, is he okay? And I told them I want to build the biggest self-development platform in the world. I'm coming from Mind Valley. I'm coming from this spot. The first person to believe in me was a guy who just bought $1.7 million plot of land, and just got $4 million in funding to build on that land. He said, I think this is the best thing you've ever done. So then I had some people like, you sure you want to do that? You sure? Is that the direction you want to go into? And it puts that doubt in your head. The same way they did you, they put that doubt in your head. And that's very dangerous. So I'm very careful when people come to me with things. I'm like, are you passionate about it? Okay, I support it.
Right.
Versus me projecting my fears on you. And see, that's the thing about negative emotions, right? So if you already have a negative emotion about pulling the trigger on something, people don't understand. Negative emotions don't go anywhere because energy can't be destroyed. So if you had a negative emotion from something from 2012 and you never handled it, it's still inside you. So if you have a negative emotion and then somebody else brings a negative emotion, those two negative emotions can join.
Right.
And then they starts becoming like a belief system. Like, well, maybe, and you start pushing yourself down and down and down. So I think I would say the number one thing that you do if you really want to truly be wealthy is to make sure you do not allow fear to consume you. And my thing is, I tell people, is you don't have to kill fear. Everybody's like, I gotta kill it. I was like, yo, embrace it, understand it, and then release it. Because you'll learn more about yourself when you embrace it. So, I saw you go through your process of, should I go to LA? This is a big deal.
Right.
You took off. I'm glad you trusted yourself. So trust in yourself.
Trust, and that's the biggest thing, because there's no outside force that's going to allow you to overcome or face that fear. There's no outside force. People tend to look for somebody else to tell them that they're good enough, right? And that's not going to work.
Right.
It has to come from inside. You've got, and it's an exercise. And just like when you're exercising your muscles, you're exercising your mind. It's a daily grind. It's a daily process. It doesn't just happen one day. You're like, poof, my fear is gone. No, that's not how it works. It has to be dealt with on a daily basis. And what I did was a few years ago, I wrote down some of my biggest fears, and then every day throughout the year, I would look at that list, and I would write down under each one, I would put bullet points about how I'm going to overcome each one of those fears.
I like that.
And as I would look at it every day, because it was a reminder, and it was my exercise when it came to facing the fears. And after I felt like I faced it, I would cross them out, right? One by one. I had a fear of moving, right? I had a fear of moving to LA. I had no support system in LA. I've got a few people, but most of my support system is in Brooklyn, in New York. So it's something that you have to do every day. It's exercise.
It's a daily practice. Yeah, I mean, and I always tell people is that when you finally face your fears and you start really doing like what you did, you close that gap. You keep closing that gap, right? Because fear can lead to depression and leaving you paralyzed mentally, physically, and spiritually. I have somebody in my life right now that I was trying to help, and they got paralyzed by fear. And I just had to step away because I don't want that to rub off on me. So you keep closing that gap, and closing that gap. So, months of being in fear go to weeks, and weeks go to days, and days go to hours, and hours go to minutes, and minutes go to seconds. And then when it comes to decision making, you're like, nah, I'm going to do it. Let's do it. Yep, let's do it. Instead of like, let me spend the next 5 months feeling bad about myself, and then a year goes by. Another year.
Right.
and you still ain't in real estate now. You still ain't doing what you needed to do. So I'm literally, you influenced me, Vernon, and I love it. So I want to repeat what you did to handle your fear. You wrote down all your fears, correct? And
Yep.
you put bullet points underneath. And what were the bullet points?
So the bullet points are the different things that you know you need to do in order to overcome those fears. We already have the answers within us.
Okay.
It's just a matter of execution. You know.
Okay, great. So you wrote what you need to do, and then you would look at that list every day, and then like you would cross one out as you reach that goal to rid yourself of that specific fear. So I think that's a
Yes.
really dope exercise we should all do. Like let's let's definitely do that, and I'm going to do that tonight. I'm going to do
All
that
right.
tonight. I'm going to write down all my fears, and then I'm going to write the bullet points of what I need to do to get rid of said fear. Andrea, I see you in here. Let's do it. You know, y'all want to do it. Andrea, you're a part of the community. We have a academy called the Inner Warriorship Academy that's in beta phase. And if you go to rebelcamp.com and you sign up for the 8-week Inner Warriorship program that we have that is launching next week, you get free access to the Inner Warriorship Academy. And the Inner Warriorship Academy is just all about uh, living limitlessly and fearlessly. So, and having a community that you can turn to. So, Andrea, please go in there. I'll post it in there later tonight. But I'll do the exercise for it.
I'm telling you, within a year, you're gonna see the difference. You're gonna see a big difference. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah. Well, anyway, brother, I want to definitely part to this and focus on something very specific next time. I have an idea. I won't share it publicly right now, but can you just I want you to flex a little bit. Let's flex.
Okay. All right.
Hold on. I may need to change the light settings up in here. All right, let's flex. All right. So, brother, you are dealing with high level commercial real estate deals. Can you speak to me about one that you're really proud of that you recently closed or worked on?
So right now we're in contract for a 32 unit with the retail space in San Francisco. It's in the Tenderloin district of San Francisco, and the 32 units are designated for helping people who are at risk of becoming homeless. And this is a big part of my generational wealth journey, which is owning multifamily real estate that helps people get out of the situation that they're in. Because my building that I have in Brooklyn, I recently got a tenant who was in a homeless shelter, and she has a little boy, and he's about 10 years old. And the way that I see it is that I can provide this family with a great environment for this little boy to grow up in, where he can become something very big. He can become his own passion. He could be passionate about whatever he loves to do, and be able to own property, right? So it's not only about me being able to create generational wealth, but it's about me being able to help other people elevate, right? So I'm super proud of that.
32 units.
Yeah, 32 units. It's 10.25 million. And there's a new company that I created, Generational Wealth Organization, with two of my other partners, Maurice Garvin and Ramel Dash, and we are investing together as a unit. And man, this is a life's journey that has taken me to this moment. And we envision owning thousands of units that are dedicated to helping families elevate.
That's amazing, man. Look, and this is a part of it. It's that owning your community as well. That is
Right.
super generational wealth. And also, I know you're very healthy, is changing the food scarcity situation in a lot of these places, because I do know the Tenderloin district in San Francisco is pretty rough, like as far as
It is.
some of the homelessness, etc. So you're not only like building generational wealth, you are you're changing the world, man. This is legacy work. This is legacy work. And I love it.
Yes.
I'm very proud of you. And I'm going to get out there soon because, a lot of people don't know I am moving to LA.
Can't wait. I can't wait.
one. And I said that I'm coming out there. I already have a whole tribe out there. I know a lot of people, so we're definitely going to be clicking up and making things happen, just like we did when we were here in New York. And just to give you one legacy moment, I was in Vernon's backyard about 6 years ago, and we had this idea of starting a men's group, and we didn't know what it was going to be. I just told him a story about a generational wealth moment I had. I had this former client who I went to his house to drop off a video project. He flexed on me so hard that I left that place going, wow. So I went to his house, it was a beautiful neighborhood, and I said, hey, man, here's your DVD. He said, okay, let's go next door and watch it. So I said, why are we going to the neighbor's house to watch a DVD? I was like, what kind of weird stuff you into, bro? And we got into the house. This is a black man. We got into the house. I said, this is your house? Whose house is this? He said, oh, this is my house as well. I own every house on this block. And there were 7 houses on that block. He owned every one. And the backyard was connected through a compound. And he told me the story of how him and 6 friends from college stuck together. They were all lawyers, and they grew as men. They started getting families. They got more successful. They kept the opportunities between them. They invested in nonprofits that needed support. And they're called, I don't want to blow them up, but they both went between 2 colleges in New York. But they stayed together, guys, to the point where their children already have jobs, already have businesses once they get older. And this is the way to do it. So we helped start a organization called the Mastermind Connect, which is a men's group that is still around to this day. If you go to mastermindconnect.com, those are my brothers. I took a little step back to focus on the Rebel Camp, but I just had drinks with Annie Almonte, the co-founder. I'm one of the original founders. He's one of the original founders. And we're going to start doing some stuff together. But through that one idea, I said, yo, we should do this. We should do this men's group, this networking. Now it has over 100 members. But Vernon is the one that said, yo, we should call it Mastermind Connect. I think it's after the book Think and Grow Rich. We should do a Mastermind Connect. And he named it in the backyard where your mother grew up.
Right.
Where your brother lives now and his son. So we had a space to have a legacy building moment. A legacy building moment, because we could have been at another time, been distracted and not talk about it. But the energy from the home, the spiritual energy that is in the home, and we tapped into that, and I'm just realizing that happened. And through that Mastermind Connect, able to create the Camping Connect initiative, Masterminds initiative. So generation is not just about money. I'm glad that Vernon was able to come on today and clear a lot of that up and get people to focus within so they can focus without. Right?
Yes.
And that's self-transcendence. That's living for something higher than yourself. And Vernon, I want to thank you for coming on today. This was an enlightening session. And
thank you, brother.
No, we absolutely will be part 2ing this. And I want everybody to catch you at, where do you want people to catch you at?
All right, and I just want to let everybody know that if anybody has any questions about buying their first property or in any investment questions, or if they want to get my recipe to my daily juice, anything, just hit me up. I'm always a resource, and I'm always there for my people. I'm always there for my people. And if you want to get on a call, I'm there. I'm ready, willing, and able to make it happen.
I mean, just an amazing dude. Your father, I love your father. He's an amazing entrepreneur. Let me tell you guys, we could be here another 45 minutes. We could talk about the conference, no, not the conference, the expo, the Healthy NYC Expo they have in New York City. They have a magazine for seniors and health. I mean, you guys have It's ridiculous. We can be here forever. So anyway, love you, brother. I'm coming out to LA probably in December, and we'll
Okay.
get together and maybe record something. We could probably bring Eric Boyce in, another
No
brother,
doubt.
generational
No
wealth.
doubt.
But we
No
got
doubt.
an amazing circle of people. Guys, please do me a favor and go to therebelcamp.com. Check out the 8-week inner warriorship program that is out right now. Please support that. If you want to level up and go into 2021 crushing it, this is a great program for you. We mix self-dev, spirituality, lifestyle, and you get access to an amazing community. So with that said, Vernon Jones, love you, brother.
Love you, my brother. I'll talk to you real soon.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Peace.